Um, Ladies and gentlemen, we will be starting with the next session right now, and I'd like to invite Joyce of APNIC to kindly moderate this session.
Thanks very much, Satish. And hello, everyone. Welcome to our session on the Internet Governance Landscape and Ecosystem. I'm Joyce Chen, Senior Advisor for Strategic Engagement in APNIC, that's Asia Pacific Network Information Center. We will try our best to spell out all our acronyms today. This is the task for my speakers today. And I'm your moderator for this session. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the APSIG organizers for inviting us to speak with you about this wonderful topic. I'm very, very happy to also see some familiar names in the participant list. So the Internet governance landscape has several different organizations doing work in the multi-stakeholder environment. Our goal today is to bring you through some of the major organizations and platforms and give you a peek at our Internet governance journeys. Now, I'd like to start with a quick poll. So what I've done is to put a link in the chat. If you could hit to menti.com, I've placed it there. And if you type in the code 3502885, you'll be able to answer the first question. So let me just share my screen. Am I sharing the right screen? How are we doing? So the question is, which Internet organizations would you be most interested to be involved in? You can select up to 3 options. You don't have to select just one. I'll just give a couple of seconds for people to finish up. If anybody is struggling to log into Menti, let me know. It should be very straightforward. Just click on the link and type in the code. So it looks like we have quite a lot of interest in IGF. I guess the opening remarks from Henriette really helped. We have, oh, interesting. We have equal interest in APNIC and ICANN. So this is really just to get us sort of warmed up, get us going. I'm just going to stop sharing for now. We have 4 special guest speakers today who will share their adventures in Internet governance with us. And if you have any questions for our speakers, please feel free to type them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end of the session. So we have with us today Afifa Abbas, Bronwyn Mercer, Jae-won Son, and Manju Chen. I'll let each of them introduce themselves to you. So let's start in alphabetical order for now. So Afifa, in 1 or 2 minutes, tell us about yourself and how you got started in Internet governance. What are the issues and topics that interest you and keep you going?
Thank you so much, Joyce. I hope you can hear me well. Good evening, everybody. Very good evening to you all from Dhaka, Bangladesh. My name is Afifa Abbas, as Joyce stated nicely, and I'm currently working as a cybersecurity and governance lead engineer in a telecom operator in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So my journey towards Internet governance ecosystem has become really adventurous, full of experience, new learning, and many things that I'd like to share with you all. My first starting was with the local community, which is called BDNOG, Bangladesh Network Operators Group. As I belong to a technical background, BDNOG was a very good fit for me to start with. So when I got myself into the training and workshops and the conferences in BDNOG, I got to learn about something which is called APNIC, Asia Pacific Network Information Center, which is the regional internet registry. And then I got to know about the APNIC fellowship. And out of curiosity, without not knowing much about APNIC, I applied, and luckily I got selected. And when I first entered into the world of Internet governance using the gateway of APNIC, I have seen a whole new world. And I kept on asking my question, how come I did not know about it so far? So it was so overwhelming. I got myself into the training of network security. So APNIC training and the conference was really an eye opener for me. I got to meet with many mentors and big guns with internet industry with whom I'm still in touch with. So whenever I'm stuck somewhere, I just contact with them directly, and they're never busy for newcomers. And that is my personal experience. So as internet governance is a huge thing. The thing that personally interested me, that was the privacy, cybersecurity, internet security of the end user within the internet. So since then, I have been following those discussions, and it is keep on going. And just to mention that right from APNIC, when I attended the first event, then I got to meet with people from ICANN. Then when I attended ICANN, then I got to meet people from IETF. Then when I attended IETF, then I got to meet with people from global IGF. So the doors kept on opening for me, kept on welcoming me without me knowing that there is something happening, that the entire community is so welcoming that people want the newcomers to get engaged a lot. So yes, so far, this was my journey in very brief. Looking forward to hear from others.
Thanks very much, Afifa, and thanks for keeping to the time. Next, we have Bronwyn.
Hi everyone, my name is Bronwyn Mercer. I'm a cybersecurity consultant as well, similar to Afifa. I currently work as a consultant at Microsoft, and I'm based in Sydney, Australia. So it's an awesome opportunity to share a little bit about my journey into internet governance, coming from the technical side as well. But I wish I had a grand story to tell you about my introduction to internet governance. But in reality, my introduction to internet governance started from a pure coincidence, seeing a random post on Facebook on a youth opportunities page, and it was actually a post about a fellowship program called the ISOC Youth at IGF program. And I saw this post on Facebook and I thought, that sounds interesting. And it was offering a fully funded trip to the Geneva IGF in 2017. So just at a pure random kind of like just on a whim, I applied to this fellowship back in 2017, and as part of the program, I actually got to go through a great course online with people from all over the world and learned a bit about the absolute basics of internet governance, like what is internet governance, what's the multi-stakeholder model. It's probably some of the things that you'll learn about as part of the course in APSIG. And basically, I went through this course with about 300 other people and got selected as one of the final 30 fellows to go to the Internet Governance Forum in 2017. So this was my random introduction to internet governance, and having gone through university and studied more network engineering, I had an idea of how the internet worked, and some of the stakeholders like ICANN who were involved in the DNS system and the numbers system, and I'd heard a little bit about APNIC and some of the global IP addressing, but not really too much about how the governance of the internet worked. So that was my beginning. From there, I went on to attend the Asia Pacific Internet Governance Academy in Korea in 2018, where I was able to get a bit more detail. It was a week-long program where I really learned a lot about the ICANN policymaking process, and met some youth who are passionate about different areas of internet governance and internet issues. So it was quite a good program, and it taught me a lot about all the acronyms as well, so how I could get involved and what all those different acronyms meant within ICANN. Then in 2019, I was actually able to go to an ICANN meeting in Kobe, Japan, and that was sort of putting all that theory I'd learned into practice, which is fantastic. And so just in the background, while all of this had been happening, in 2018 and 2019, I got involved in the Australian Internet Governance Forum, which is also known as NetThing. And I've been helping to run NetThing for a couple of years, and now going forward, as of today, I'm now the chair of NetThing Australia. So next year I'll be helping to basically lead our Internet Governance Forum within Australia. And what keeps me going is both the technical aspects and also I think the social and I think societal impacts of the internet, and seeing the internet be used for inclusion and for good in society. So that's all for me.
We have lost your actually host. You can just go move to next panelist. Just introduce yourself.
Is it Day-1 next?
Yes, please. Next.
Sure. Hello. I'm Jaewon from Korea. I've just saw the attendee list and I saw so many familiar names already. So I'd like to congratulate you on like being selected for the fellowship and everything. To list out just a few, I'm currently serving as a capacity building lead of Youth for IG, and it's a APEC Youth Coalition in Internet Governance. So I have studied development and cooperation during grad school. So I was interested in how can I help developing countries and marginalized people to have the same thing that we all are having. And my first internet governance also started with APSIG 2018. I've also seen it from Facebook, but I was actually doing my exchange in Vienna and I didn't really wanted to go back to Korea at that point. So I was looking for a good reason so that I can do something significant and find a reason to go back to Korea. And I just saw the APSIG and the governance, internet governance look like something political stuff that I might be able to do it. So I just applied and somehow got in. And during the academy, I was been able to get familiarized with all the organizations, meeting and terminologies. So I recommend you to attend one if you haven't. I was awarded there with Brown. So, and the organization there allowed me to attend the ICANN 63 in Barcelona as a civilian expert, where I needed to write a CCNSO report. It's like country code. People are all meeting together to discuss how to do the DNS and everything. So it was my first ICANN meeting. So after getting familiarized with the ICANN, I began to know more about the fellowship they have. So I did the next gen ambassador and fellowship, every fellowship that they have, just to see what's going on in the ICANN and stuff like that, and realized there are many membership and organization under the ICANN. So I joined something called Apollo. It's the Asia Pacific Regional at-large organization. This is something like all of the end user in APEC region are kind of meeting and sharing and discussing what should be done and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'm currently serving as a member of Apollo, and then I had some other fellowship like APSIG, APSIG, and stuff like that, getting to know about other organizations. And by having all of those, I began to have more interest in capacity building and youth empowerment, as I believe everyone, including youth and end user, need to contribute to the policy development and decision-making process so that we can assure that everyone has a say and ensure the multi-stakeholder model and stuff like that. So by mentoring the youth ambassador in IGF and for the youth for IG, I began to know, like, for the youth, we need kind of more youth perspective to understand better about what's going on in ICANN meeting and stuff like that. And I think this committee is a good place that youth itself can contribute to others and help other people. So this basically motivated myself and keep engaged with the internet governance. So I think Mandy, you can go next.
Thanks, Day-1. Sorry, I'm back. Manju, go ahead.
Hi everyone. So this is Manju from Taiwan, and I work as an internet researcher, and my research focus is mostly about internet governance policies and practices. And so aside from my day job, I am also involved in ICANN. I think a lot of people have talked about ICANN. It's basically the coordinator of global DNS domain name system. And I'm also a member of Youth for IG. We are a group of young people who are passionate about internet governance, and we aim to promote and empower more young people in the APAC region to participate in internet governance. And the organization I work for is called NIEPA. We're also the secretariat of TWIGF, which leads me to the IGF region. So I'm involved in TWIGF, and this year I was also luckily selected as a fellow of APR-IGF, which is the Internet Governance Forum of the APAC region. So that's basically my, well, how do I say, IG ecosystem resume in a sense. So how did I get involved in IG? Well, basically it was because of my job. So quite different from others. I applied to work in the IG system. So and also I had to attend ICANN because it's part of my job. But you know, like once you get into, I think like all the former speakers have talked about this. As long as you get into one of the organizations or platforms, these things, they just grow on you. So you really start participating all kinds of different platforms and different organizations, and you just get more and more involved. And I'm mindful of time, so I'm just gonna end with most IG topics that interest me are the ones about human rights and privacy and gender equality. And but I think like what keeps me going on this internet governance participation thing is really, aside from the topics, it's really the people you meet. So those people you meet in different platforms, different organizations, they might or might not be as interested as the topics you're interested in. But like when you talk to them, when you become friends with them, you also know about other topics. And that really broadens your horizon. And I think that's one of the very important factors that keeps me going on this internet governance journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Manju. So we've talked a bit about various things now, and we've heard the names of some of the internet organizations and platforms that you've been involved in. Bronwyn, I want to come to you. Congratulations on being elected the NetThing chair for 2021. It's a great opportunity to give something back and contribute to the internet community in Australia. Why don't you share more about NetThing with us? What is NetThing, first of all, and what do you do there?
Yeah, thanks, Joyce. It's a great opportunity. And so NetThing is actually a very new internet governance forum within Australia. So back in the day, I think over 5 years ago, there was an old internet governance forum in Australia, which was operated by the .au domain authority. That forum sort of finished for a mixture of reasons, and back in 2017, when I was at the Internet Governance Forum, I actually met Pablo, who's on this call as well, and I got a bit of a background on what was the state of internet governance in Australia. And at that point, the committee was still in a very early formation stage, and they were looking to create a new internet governance forum in Australia. So it was just a pure coincidence that I found the right person at the right time to talk to, and I was able to get involved in the very first net thing, which was a one-day event back in 2018, where we brought the community together in Sydney and talked about a combination of different internet governance related topics there in person for one day. And this year, with the event of COVID, we actually had a 2-day fully virtual forum in October, and it was essentially the same concept. We got people from across Australia together virtually, and we talked about governance of the internet and on the internet and all kinds of interesting issues. And all the talks are actually available online on YouTube, so they're all recorded and you can go and have a look at them if you're interested. But essentially, going forward, something I'm really interested to keep improving as part of NetThing is to basically improve diversity and representation. As Australia is such a diverse and multicultural country, we really want to strive to be able to represent the voices of not just multi-stakeholders, but the diversity of the cultures and different demographics within the country. So yeah, that's a bit about NetThing.
Oh, sorry, forgot the mute button. Thanks very much, Bronwyn. Jaewon, I want to come to you. I know you've been involved in the Korea IGF, so it's kind of similar to NetThing, which is a local IGF, but not quite the same. You've also been involved in APRIGF and even the global IGF. Could you share with us, about these different events, and in your opinion, what is different about them?
Thank you. I've been a committee member of Korea Internet Governance Forum, and I think the thing was we didn't even have the youth session in 2018 when I first joined as a committee member, and me and the other APSIG alumni was the only kind of youth committee member. But so initially we began to have the youth session, and we also initiated the youth supporters so that others would be able to involve in the National Internet Governance Forum and stuff like that. But at that time, I was kind of wondering if this gonna be the first and last youth session, as after all of the committee members who were youth were resigned, and I was the only youth committee there. So I was thinking maybe this would be the last session after all. But since we had the APIGA alumni, we've been able to co-found one of the youth Korean stakeholder group, and we have guided them to let them know how to propose the session and stuff like that. So in the end, they have proposed session more than the session of the normal session outside of youth. So we managed to have the youth track, and now we came to a point where we discuss maybe now is the time for us to have the youth Korean IGF. So by seeing these changes, I could really felt that IGF is the place that where you can really commit to and make changes by your possibilities and stuff like that. For the APR IGF and IGF, last year's IGF was my first IGF, and I've been able to have 2 sessions as a speaker, but I think it was just possible because I began to know many people around the community, because I didn't really thought of proposing a session, but some people from other community like APIGA or Youth for IG and everything, they just text me asking if I'll be able to speak for this session, and most of the session were the issues that I was interested in, so I just jump in and begin to have those. Even for the API IGF and stuff, I think once you get to be really active in this committee, people begin to recognize you and ask you once there's a spot left, and if they find you as a suitable person to speak about it. So that's how I got involved with the IGF and APSIG. So I think for the fellows here also, I think it's just matter of how you start the journey, but just by begin with and have your say, I think people will recognize you and begin to have your own journey. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Day-1. Very well said that, everybody has their own individual journey, sort of, so to speak, and many different ways of getting involved in internet governance. I mean, just from hearing all of you already, you have quite different experiences from one another. So what I want to do is move on to Manju. You talked a bit about ICANN and mentioned that you've been involved in that space. So what are your experiences there? What is the community like? Have you been involved in any specific topic that you're interested in?
Yes. So I started to attend ICANN in 2018, and my first ICANN meeting was actually ICANN 61 in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And as I said, I actually started to know about ICANN because of my job. So I really had to learn about ICANN, like all by myself, actually, in the beginning. But I was lucky because I was selected as a fellow of APIGA, which we all met. Like I met Bronwyn and Jae-1 there in the APIGA, but sadly now APIGA, she didn't came. So yeah, that's when I really know more about ICANN and more like about the young people who are interested in ICANN. Now in ICANN mostly, I'm a member now in NCSG, which is the non-commercial stakeholder group. And it's a stakeholder group that's under the structure of GNSO, which is the generic name supporting organizations. And ICANN is an organization with a lot of acronyms. So it's kind of confusing in the first place. And I think that's why it's very important that you know more people and you be brave to ask questions. And in NCSG, I only became a member, I think, by the end of last year. And this year, since all meetings are actually virtual meetings, it's kind of not easy as it used to be to, talk to people and participate in meetings. But I think since we're all in this virtual environment now, we really need to, you have to be brave to speak up. But even if you don't want to raise your hand, you can, tap in the chat and, raise your questions. And I think one thing about ICANN is that they're really willing to read out questions in the chat. So once you raise questions in the chat, people actually read it out. You actually feel, more encouraged to raise your hand and ask questions. And since ICANN is mostly about DNS, which is the domain name system, it's actually quite hard for newcomers to understand. So I will encourage those who are interested in ICANN, if you want to know more, you can apply for the ICANN Fellowship or ICANN Next Gen, like Jae-1 mentioned it. And I'll put more information in the chat because I don't want to take up too much time. We still have a lot of other people want to speak and we still want to take questions. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thanks, Manju. And of course, Afifa, you talked about being part of the APNIC community, and of course, you've also have some experience in ICANN. Why don't you tell us about your experience?
Thanks, Joycey. So as I mentioned before, I got to introduce myself with APNIC in APNIC 40 when I joined the first APNIC conference and workshop as a fellow. So it was an overwhelming experience for me. So after that, I started to know APNIC a little bit closer and better. So what I figured out and explored that APNIC within the community, they share the routing best practices, security best practices, they create awareness, they promote IPv6, and not just they only promote IPv6 deployment, they also provide the training and many sort of workshops for the community so that the IPv6 deployment becomes easier. And what I figured out that APNIC is a huge, has huge resource for newcomers, starting from fellowship and many more. And also when for a newcomer, APNIC gives multiple channels to contribute. If anybody wants to contribute in APNIC work, they can contribute in the policy development process. They can write a blog. Then they can work as a community trainer. They can participate in many voluntary work. And also, I would like to mention some of my engagements with APNIC right after my fellowship. That is, I worked as a fellowship committee member. I worked as a mentor for the fellows for APNIC 42. And then I have worked as a program committee member for APNIC 50. I was the chair of Women in ICT session for APNIC 50, and I'm very proud to say that I have also contributed to create an email list for women in ICT for the APAC region, so that we can attract more women in ICT to contribute in this internet governance ecosystem. So far, the journey with the APNIC has been great so far. So the thing is that when you have the eagerness to contribute, APNIC opens up to you with more resources and with more channels to contribute. So I would encourage you all to keep your eye on APNIC and start your contribution. The people are very much welcoming.
Thanks very much, Afifa. And I guess after hearing all of you speak, there are many ways to start getting involved in internet governance, and APSIG is such a prime example of this, together with, as you've heard, APIGA. These are all different types of schools of internet governance, where people will get to know more about internet governance from the beginning. And in this case, it's actually more of an intermediate course. So what I want to do is encourage any questions if you have for the speakers, please type them in the chat. I'm keeping an eye on the chat. And what we'll do now is do a little pivot, and I'd like to bring you back to menti.com. And if you could answer the second question. So go to menti.com, type in the code again, 3502885. And the question is, what is your biggest challenge to participate and be involved in internet governance? So over here, what you can do is type your answers in the free text. So you can put your answers in and let me know again if you have any issues getting connected. Now, during this time, we have, I'm guessing, just short of 5 or 6 minutes left. I'd like to open the floor to any of the speakers now to just share, one challenge and also one opportunity that you've encountered yourself as a volunteer in the internet governance space. So free for all, just go ahead. Who wants to go first?
Can I?
Yes, Day-1, please.
Yeah, so while the internet governance gave me a lot of opportunity, I felt like I think Manju is really an ideal case where you can do the work and the internet governance journey at the same time. But as a person not from the technical side, when I was working for the HR department, my supervisor didn't understand why do I have to go to Canada to discuss about domain name system when there's not much thing that can be benefited for the supervisor and the company. So I think nowadays, since everything is been virtual, maybe you would be able to have more participation without getting allowance of having a leave and everything. But for me, it was quite difficult for me to manage the work and the internet governance at the same time, as when you become more active, you would have to have more time and effort, commitment with all the responsibilities. So I think there's a point where you have to decide until where you can have the contribution and until where you can manage and stuff like that. I think maybe Brown has more things to say. I think she also went through stuff like that, so maybe you can share.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. you know, working full time as a professional and then wanting to contribute to the internet governance community as well, you have to be very selective about which communities you join and how much time you put in to those particular communities as well, because as you'll hear about as part of APSIG, there's so many different communities that you can be part of. Like you can be part of APNIC and ICANN and ISOC and all of the local sort of events as well. But when you also have to manage a full-time job, or maybe you're studying as well, it does require quite a bit of time. So my strategy for dealing with the time commitment has been to pick one or two main forums or communities that really interest you, and where there are people there who you can learn a lot from, and try and invest as much as you can around your other commitments into those forums, and do your best to make a meaningful contribution, and use your skills, whatever skills you may have, to help push the work forward that community is doing, whether that's a technical skill or maybe something more on the soft skills or management side, where you can help to organize an event where IGFs don't just need content, they also need people who know how to manage finances and all that kind of thing. So regardless of your skill set, there's really a place for you, but just try and manage it around your other commitments.
Thanks very much, Bronwyn. I'm going to share some of the results of what you typed in. So, okay, I hope you can see this. So the question was, what is your biggest challenge to participate and be involved in internet governance? Some of you said acronyms. I hope we did well in terms of trying to spell everything out and just being mindful that, you know, acronyms are difficult, especially if you're a newcomer. Lack of prior knowledge to participate. We have language barrier. That is very relevant, especially for APAC region. Sometimes English is not the first language, and it makes it very difficult to follow what the policy discussions are, especially. And wanting to get involved, you also feel that there is this barrier because you feel shy, or you feel a bit nervous about having to speaking in English. So to understand the IG environment and my role in it, it's a very complex world indeed, as you've heard from the speakers today. It is very complex. There are so many different organizations and platforms to be involved. So I see time comes up a lot. One of the biggest obstacles is having a non-technical background. So I myself, I have a non-technical background, and it's really about speaking to people, tapping their brains and their minds. You know, what do they understand about the ecosystem? What do they understand about the technical knowledge? And trying our best to learn from it. So I'm just speaking from personal experience. So lack of knowledge, I hope that with APSIG, this kind of covers a little bit of that gap. If you feel you have a lack of knowledge on internet governance and some of the issues that are being discussed, then APSIG is the right place that you're in now to be able to learn all these things. I'm just going to quickly scroll down and see if there's anything else. Oh, okay, I see this interesting one. Biggest challenge is to deal with trust issues. Also, one of the obstacles to open communication channels. Whoever would type this, could I invite you if you would be willing to just share your opinion about this and just elaborate on this point? If you would be brave enough to take the mic. Anybody whoever typed this? No? It's okay, I won't put you on the spot, don't worry. So definitely, I think dealing with trust issues is something that the internet governance space is quite a political one. There will always be differing interests. There will be conflicting interests, that sort of thing. And building trust is an issue that as part of the internet community, we keep coming back to. So that is very relevant. I'm not going to go through all the answers because I see that we do have a question from the chat, which I will read out. So we have a question from Ik Chi. What do you think can be done to get more young people interested and passionate about internet governance compared to the more financially lucrative side of the internet industry? Oh, that's a tough one. Any of our speakers would like to take a stab at this question?
I guess I'll use this as a promotion opportunity for use for IG, because I think that's really the problem. Like that's really the challenge. We want to at least contribute to solve a little as use for IG, because like I said, we all started with the fellowship, and you know the fellowship they don't go on forever, and sometimes after the fellowship you really feel like you're lost because you don't know who to talk to, because this is such a big world. There are so many people. You don't get to talk to everyone. You don't get to know everything. And once the fellowship opportunities is over, you don't know how to keep, pushing your way in. So in Youth for IG, actually, we do this mentorship program, which I'm actually the co-chair of. So we actually pair you up. If you're interested in getting more involved in internet governance, we pair you up with a seasonal, expert in the internet governance. Our first batch, we had 6 mentees and 2 mentors. We had the mentors from ICANN, actually, and I think it worked out really good, because when you are assigned to a person, then you feel more comfortable to talk to him or her, right? So whenever you have questions, you don't have this kind of hesitation to ask, because she's or he's always there to answer. So if you want to, have this opportunity to enter this mentorship program, please check out our website. We're going to roll out another new one, a second round of mentorship maybe next year, but we're seriously lack of staff too. So please, if you're interested, just join Youth for IG, and we can all work together, and we can, introduce each other with all kinds of opportunities, and we can motivate each other to, be the new voice and stronger voice in the internet governance. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Manju. Great point, and thanks for bringing up Youth for IG, which comprises quite a number of the alumni from the different fellowships of the internet organizations. I know we're a little bit over time. I'm very mindful of that, and I just want to ask the secretariat or the organizers, could we just have a couple minutes left more to just do a quick wrap up, if that is okay?
2 minutes is fine.
2 minutes, fantastic. So what I'd like to ask my speakers now, if you could just give us a few seconds of your closing remark. Tell us one thing that you'd like to give as a tip or advice to this group about how to overcome some of these challenges that we've been talking about. Who would like to start first?
I'd like to start.
Day-1, go ahead.
Yeah, I think you need to start like noise canceling when people are like questioning you why you are doing stuff, especially when you are not like in the technical background. So I think when there's no ideal person that you might want to do, I think you can be the person just by doing what you are thinking, right? And just by that, people might see you as inspiration, and the other might follow and join you as a other youth initiative and other youth groups. So I think just as you has become a fellow, I think you already made a good step. So keep doing what you are doing, and I think we'll all meet up somewhere. Thank you.
And Joycey, I would like to mention something. Somehow I believe that sometimes the challenges are not They do not sometimes exist in reality, but sometimes it is in our minds. Like I got one comment that, you have to be from a technical background in order to participate in a internal governance forum, which is not true, because I wish we can have a separate session on this where we can clarify the misunderstanding or misperception of people that no, you can also be the part of internet governance forum. So, we have been talking about these challenges. This is not the only forum we have talked about it. We have talked about it in many forums. And from that feedback, the entities, APNIC, ICANN, they have gone a lot far. And as I said, the challenges are inside our mind. They have stretched their hand, and it is our time to stretch our hand, because Asia Pacific is a full of resources in terms of opportunities. So my question to the people would be, are you looking enough? Are you stretching your hands enough so that you can participate? So whatever you're thinking right now in your mind, just forget them all. Just start with your local community, with the regional community, and even eventually you'll find that the challenges they do not exist anymore. You just need to step up and make the first move.
I think just following on from what you said, Afifa, there's also some really good resources you can look up online. So organizations like ICANN and ISOC have online courses that you can take, and some of them, like ICANN's course library, is very extensive, and many of those courses are free. So I would really encourage you, if you're really interested to find out more about internet governance and demystify some of the processes and acronyms and see how you can get involved, there are learning materials that you can look at online, and also alongside that, get into the get the contacts as well through programs like Youth for IG, where they'll pair you up with a mentor. So I think that combination of learning plus mentorship will really push you a long way.
Thanks, Rawin. And finally, Manju.
I think just build on the others have said, you just have to find small, like the sense of accomplishment by the small things you have achieved. So you have the motivation to go on and just keep cheering yourself up. And if you feel like you can't do that anymore, you just come to us, go to the youth community, come to Youth for IG. We will cheer you up. So it's very important you have the community. So, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Thank you.
Thanks, Manju, and thanks to all my speakers who have been so inspiring in this session, telling us about not just the challenges, but also the opportunities for being involved in internet governance. And before I close, I would say being an APSIG is the prime opportunity again to have this network of people that you can go to, you can ask questions, seek your mentor, find someone who can hold your hand through the different internet organizations. And APSIG is one place where you are able to meet these people. So I highly encourage you to be active, ask a lot of questions, and really take this opportunity. So thank you very much. I'll close this session, and I apologize that we ran over time, but I thank you for your patience. If you have any other questions, I think you can always reach out to the organizers, and we'll be happy to get back to you. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks very much,
everyone.
Joyce, Manju, Bronwyn, Day-1, and Afifa for an excellent and engaging session. I'm sure the participants have a lot to look forward to interacting with all of you for the future.